before profited. Deputy Smith, 3.5 minutes. Is it?
Yeah, I'm sharing with Deputy Mick Barry. The families of the Ballymurphy massacre, after a long and difficult campaign, have been vindicated at last. And it was very moving to see their absolute relief and joy. The Irish state, the government and the media last week were all over these families. But I had to ask myself, where were they for the decades that the families were seeking justice and knocking on their door? And it made me think very much about how most states will cover up for events that they don't want to own up to. And just to mention a few, Black Lives Matter movement in America, the Stardust victims here, the families of Terence Wheelock, the family of Shane O'Farrell, and most lately of George Nkencho. These are families who are being denied justice, who are knocking on doors, and I plead with the Taoiseach to listen to them and to make sure that justice is not delayed for others. Within hours of the announcement of the Ballymurphy massacre inquests, we saw the bizarre scenario where one arm of the British state, the judiciary, judged members of another arm of the British state, the army, who were responsible for killing 10 innocent civilians, and a third arm, the government, announced that it wants to make plans to make the perpetrators immune from prosecution and perpetrators of all other violence. The British government have to be challenged on this. Their plans to end the reinvestigation of killing by state forces in Northern Ireland is absolutely wrong. All families of victims deserve independent, fully resourced investigations into the deaths of their loved ones, and they deserve the support of our government in seeking that. The British government must be made to feel the pressure to stick by the Stormont House Agreement and the Good Friday Agreement. Various public consultations on how to deal with the past have come and gone in the North, and habitually London has broken its commitments. Britain must not now be allowed to bail out of its commitments to previous agreements. Interestingly, today Prince Charles is in Belfast, and this is a man who's the Colonel-in-Chief of the Parachute Regiment, the regiment responsible for Ballymurphy and for Bloody Sunday. I wonder, will anyone ask him his views on these outcomes, and may he be invited to apologise to the families. Boris Johnson and the Tory party are feigning concern for former British soldiers, because when you look what the British Legion has to say about former British soldiers, 6,000 of them, former British soldiers, are homeless on the streets of Britain, many of them dependent on food banks. 10,000 are in jail or on probation. 50,000 suffer from permanent mental health injuries and are dependent on state services. These veterans live in miserable conditions and are not respected by the British government, and as many as 200 former soldiers could now face prosecution if the British are not allowed to get away with their latest move. And is that what they are scared of? They are scared of and have a lot to lose by the testimony of almost 200 former British soldiers if they are allowed to be prosecuted in Northern Ireland. I think that we have to stand up to them, and I think we have to honour the memory of the Ballymurphy families, the Bloody Sunday families and more, by not allowing the British government to rewrite history and to stop the investigation into all of the deaths that have occurred.
Deputy Mick Barry.